afternoon, everyone. This is the Puzzalathon presentation for today. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm just gonna share my screen. Okay, I'm sharing my screen right now. Everyone give me a thumbs up if you can see it. All right, let's start. So again, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Puzzalathon presentation, day one, that we're gonna be starting right now. And it's done by me, Aazan, and I'll give you a little intro about myself and a brief description of what we're doing. So let's get started. All right, so first we have the table of contents. I'm gonna go over, like I said, a brief introduction about me and what we're gonna do. And then these other sections are just the different types of things we're gonna do. So first off, a little bit about me. So my name is Aazan, and I'm a rising senior at Queens High School for the Sciences in New York City. And I am a big STEM guy. I love science and math, and I want to go to med school and be a doctor, possibly a cardiologist, something like that. And because of that, I have two research papers ongoing that are both about science. So I hope to finish those and publish one of them soon, maybe both. And I also have 100 plus hours in tutoring of math. So I hope that I can provide my skills here and make you guys and allow you guys to learn these different types of puzzles properly. Okay. All right. So first off, why are we doing these puzzles in the first place? So I'll explain to you why they're good for you. So first of all, they activate your brain. The brain, just like any other part of your body, it needs to be used in order for it to stay strong and active. Just like, you go work out, you do push-ups and stuff to activate your muscles. Brain works similarly in the way that you have to do these different tasks and you have to activate it, do puzzles, do complex thinking stuff to actually activate it and make it better at pattern recognition and any other problem-solving abilities. And speaking of problem-solving abilities, these puzzles will allow you to develop those. So it allows you to think critically and actually develop the right mindset for actually solving problems, recognizing patterns, and even doing tests in like school and stuff. And believe it or not, a lot of these concepts are actually going to be applied later in your life. So, matter of fact, I was looking through a few puzzles myself and I saw a concept that I learned in pre-calculus, and that was really surprising for me. So, these concepts might come into handy later in your life. So, just keep that in mind. And the most important thing, you need to stay consistent. You need to keep activating your brain, not just through puzzles, but also day-to-day interaction with other people and a lot of other activities in order for these attributes to actually develop and take effect for you. And so we're going to be going into the different types of puzzles now. So the three different types of puzzles that I'm going to go over today are number puzzles, pattern puzzles, and time puzzles. So numbers and time are kind of closely related because they both involve math. So with numbers, you're going to see a lot of patterns that involve addition, subtraction, and that sort of stuff. You're going to see a lot of change. You're going to have to notice how things change. In time, it's going to be a bit similar, but it's going to be a little bit more advanced. So you're going to have to actually look at the problem, understand what it's asking you, and then graph different things, like make an equation for yourself and actually solve the problem. It's similar to like word problems in math. You'll see what I mean when we get to that section. And then in the middle, we have patterns. These are completely, well, not completely, but pretty much a lot different than numbers and time because they don't involve math. They purely involve how you notice these patterns and how they add up on different rows and columns and a bunch of other stuff. So we'll be heading right into these puzzles, starting off with the numbers. Okay, so first off, I want to do a quick warm-up before we get into anything to like get your brains running. So we'll be looking at two warm-up questions, and then you guys can put your answers in the chat. We'll go through them one by one. So like 3 minutes for the first one, 3 minutes for the second. You guys can put your answers in chat once you solve them, and then we'll go over the answers for those as a group, and then I'll tell you the actual strategy in order to solve these number puzzles, and then we will go through two more practice questions, saying and actually applying these concepts, and we'll also go over it as a group to answer them as well. So starting off with the first warm-up question, I'll give you 1 to 3 minutes of thinking, and then you can put your answers in the chat. So time starts now. I'll put 1 minute to 3 minutes. Yeah. So just private message the answer when you're ready.
Hi everyone, I think I received the message. So if you're planning to answer, just send it directly to Aazan, or you can send it to the whole chat box to everyone. Okay?
Yeah, it's just your preference. You can send it to me directly, or as she said, send it to everyone. It's your choice.
All right, thank you, Wrench. Aazan is now the host, so you can send him your answers.
Okay, it looks like most of you guys' answers came in. So let's let's go to the next warm-up question real quick. Oh, that's the second question. Okay, I'll give you guys another 1 to 3 minutes of thinking. And this one's pretty easy, so you guys should be able to figure it out fast. So again, just put your answers in the chat when you're ready. I'll give you same amount of time. Okay, we're looking at some differing answers here. All right, just give it another minute. Okay, looks like most of you decided on an answer. So I'll be going over the answers for these two questions now. Okay, so for the first one, it was pretty easy. So the pattern here to recognize was that the first three numbers of each row and column add up to be the last number. And so through most of that, you guys got the pattern, and that, that 2, 9, and 1 add up to 12, and then 15, 12, and 6 add up to 33. So those would be the missing pieces. And for that, the answer would be B. And for the next question, I noticed some differing answers for this one. So there we go. So the answer for this one was B. So the pattern here was that on the top of each row, or well, just each row, you have a pattern of +2, -3, and +2 going all the way down. So 17 +2, 19, -3, 16, +2, that would be 18. So automatically through that, you can rule out anything that doesn't have 18 in that top right box. So A and D could not be the answer. And then you just rule out what would be on the bottom and or the middle, whatever is your preference. You just rule out the next row. 16 +2, 18, -3, 15, +2, that would be 17. So that's why the answer is B for this one. So take note of that. And so the basic strategy, you guys will find out soon. And most of you have probably figured it out already. So the basic strategy for these number puzzles is that you want to find as many possible correlations between the numbers as possible. So like in this example, you can see on the left circle, oh, I noticed 3 + 4 = 7. That's like one correlation you can dig out. But you don't want to just dig out any correlation at any, in any problem. You want to find out the one that's most consistent. Now allow you to figure out what the missing number is in these types of number puzzles. So for this one, can anyone tell me what you think the pattern is? Because this one's a bit harder than the other ones. So I want to see if you guys can get it. You can raise your hand or put it in chat, whatever you choose to do. Just try to figure out the pattern. Okay, I noticed some of you are putting answers. That is fine, but just explain to me how you got it. I want to see how you figure out the pattern to these problems for this example specifically. All right, I'll just wait on the others to finish. Waiting on one more. All right, I'll give it 30 more seconds and then we'll go over what it is and then we'll do 2 more questions based on this type of strategy. Okay, switching up of answers. All right, 30 seconds is up and we'll discuss what we found. So a few of you got it quite fast. I was pretty impressed because this one actually took me like a couple minutes to get, but don't worry. So basically the pattern here is that if you notice, each number in their respective sections multiplies up to the middle one. So for example, if you take this 7 here, multiply this by a 3 here, you get a 21 in the middle. And this goes for each section. So you have 3 here, and then a 2 here, that multiplies up to 6 in the middle. So with that pattern that the correlation that we found, we use that to identify the pattern that each section from the left and right multiply to add up the middle one. So we use that to solve, and we find that 4 times what equals 16, and 16 is a perfect square, so the other answer is 4. And Also, you got that. So that's the strategy for this one. Let me just clear my annotations. So that is this. So that's the strategy that you want to use when solving number puzzles. It's pretty simple, but some correlations are harder to find and even harder to find consistent ones. So you're going to want to watch out. Try to correlate mostly all the numbers that you see. Try to find like patterns that you think that will come up. And yeah, that's just a general strategy. So we're going to move on to one easy question and one slightly harder question. And we'll also go over the answer for those as a group. And I want you guys to share out what you got. Okay. Oh, this is the first question. It's pretty easy. You guys should be able to get it pretty fast. Okay, a lot of different answers. Okay. So everyone has put in their answers, I think. Oh, wait, no, one more. This one is a little confusing, but I think you guys can get it. Okay, everyone put in an answer. So let's go over it. Just get my annotations up. Okay, so the pattern for this one is actually kind of weird, but so it starts at 9. Starts at 9. Oh, that's shaky. Let me just fix that. Okay, my drawing should be a little bit smoother now. Here we go. Now it starts at 9, then it breaks off into 7 and 2. It also equals 9. And then this row, sum up, and that equals 18. So, oh, that 18 is kind of weird, but you guys get what I mean. 18. So notice how it's almost like doubling each row, aside from the first row, because that's when it starts. So it's doubling. So we can assume that it also has to double on the last row. So with that in mind, we see that 4 plus 6 adds up to 10. 10 plus 8 is 18. So the only other number that would be left to complete this circle would be 9, which would add up. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Sorry, guys. Not 9, but it would be 18. Oh, someone else joined. Let me just close my annotations. Oh, they left. It's okay. So it would double. So that would be 18. Oops. I went to the next slide by accident. So that is this puzzle. It's a little bit confusing, but it's okay. The next one is, well, not that much harder. We'll see. Let me just clear off my annotations. This one was a bit confusing. I found it a bit confusing myself. It took me quite a lot of time to get it, but that's the answer for this one. For the next one, I'll let you guys have a little bit more time because it requires, there's a lot of numbers here, so it might take a little bit of time. So again, just let me know when you're ready. Put your answers in chat. This one I feel like you guys can figure out if you find the correlation soon enough, because if you don't overthink it, then it's easy. But if you go too deep into it, you might find there's a bunch of correlations that you can't figure it out. Well, I'm an overthinker, so that's how I think, but it's pretty common. If you go too deep into it, then obviously it's gonna, and give you a bunch of things to work with, and you're not gonna know what to choose. But let's see what you guys get. Oh yeah, this time I'm gonna also ask you to explain how you got it. The last one was a bit confusing, so I didn't ask you to explain, but this one I want you to explain. I'll just wait on the others to answer. So just waiting on one more. Okay, seeing some good answers. Okay, I'll give it 30 more seconds, and then we'll go over the answer and what you guys said. Okay, let's go over the answers for this puzzle. Oh, someone else joined. So let's look at the pattern for this one. Notice a lot of you got it, which is good. And so the pattern for this one is a bit hard to see at first, but again, if you just try to figure it out with not too much time, not too much overthinking, you'll see it eventually. So if you notice that each number has a line pointing out of it, for example, 16 has this line, 13 has this line, so on and so forth. But you can also notice that with each line comes a sector that it diverges into. So for example, if we look at the sector for 16, the line for 16, it diverges into this sector and this one as well. And what you have to notice here is that if you add these two numbers up, it actually equals 16. So obviously, let's check if that is consistent with all the other numbers, which it is. Spoiler alert. So again, if we look at 14, we see 7 and 7 add up to it. And we look at 5 and 7 for 12, and that also adds up. And so when we look at this line for the missing number, we can just divide it into this sector and this sector. And we see that 9 plus 7 equals 17. So if you answered 17, then you got that right. And I noticed most of you did, which is good. So this was a basic overview of number puzzles. And that's just a basic overview because tomorrow we're going to do a little bit of a fun event. So stay tuned for that with these different types of puzzles. But the next type that I'll be teaching you guys is pattern puzzles. These won't involve numbers at all, as I discussed before, and they'll require you to think just a little bit more because there isn't really any distinct pattern. Well, there is, but it's not attributed to numbers. So maybe it'll take a little bit more time, depends on what type of person you are, whether you're a logical person seeing number patterns or whether you're a creative person and you can see the patterns for shapes and colors. Let me just clear my annotations and let's move on. Okay, so there are types of puzzles, patterns. So again, we're just going to do a couple warm-up questions, and then we're going to discuss the answers for those, and as well as your answers and what you guys came up with. And then I'll be telling you the strategy. And then this time we'll go over 3 questions for patterns and see your guys' answers. Most of you guys got it right, and then we'll move on to the next section. So let's start off with patterns. So the first warm-up question is as follows. This one's pretty easy. You guys should get it pretty quick. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to think and put your answers in chat. It'll be pretty easy, maybe like 1 to 2 minutes of thinking. Remember, your biggest enemy is overthinking the question. So if you think about it too hard, obviously you're going to find patterns that really weren't there in the first place. So it's best to just keep it simple and, just see what's there and figure it out from there. And that'll apply to most of these puzzles. So I'll give it 1 more minute. Looks like most of you guys have put in your answers. Okay, seems like most of you guys got it. So let's go to the next warm-up question. Okay, I'll let you guys think about this one and put your answers in chat. Again, it's pretty easy. This one specifically is kind of similar to the puzzle we just did. So you might get it right off the bat. Noticing some pretty different answers. A lot of different answers. Okay. Okay. Waiting on 2 more people. Come on, guys. Just 2 more. That's all we need. Move on. Okay. I'll just move on now, I guess. So let's go over the answer to the first one. Most of you got it. It's pretty easy. It's pretty good. Let me just move that there. Okay. Let's move on to the answer for the first one. So the first one is pretty easy. As we notice, the pattern is that each shape and each row is rotated 90 degrees. There is no change in pattern, so it would just be C because you can see it's 90 degrees rotated and nothing about the shape changed besides the rotation. So that's why the answer is C for our first question. And now let's move on to the second warm-up question. Okay. So this one had a lot of different answers. I noticed no one picked A. That's fine. So basically, each row, like I said, it has to do with numbers again. So each row, if you notice, if you count, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black dots in each row, and 1, 2, 3, 4 white dots in each row. So with that type of pattern, you can easily distinguish that on the last row, there's already 4 white dots, the 2 boxes left over, and there's already 2 black dots in the middle box. And so in the last one, we're going to need just 3 black dots to complete the actual pattern. Anyone have any questions about that? Okay. So now that with this also comes the strategy for solving it. So in terms of the strategy, I can't speak. The strategy for pattern puzzles, they are pretty similar to number puzzles because they use kind of the same strategy. The basic steps to take is that you want to take your time, and you want to observe that colors or shapes that repeat or are the same shape but are rotated, or dilated and bigger or smaller. You want to notice all these different patterns, and you want to see what aspects that you're trying to look out for. And then using the pattern that you find the closest answer or the exact answer, if you can, to solve the question and see if it fits in the pattern that you figured out. So for this example diagram, I want you guys to try and figure it out, the pattern here. See how you guys tackle this one. This one took me a bit of time to figure out, but I think you guys can get it. Okay. Seeing some differing answers. This one took me a bit of time to figure out myself, so okay. One person got it right so far. Okay, I'll give it 30 seconds before we move on. 30 seconds is up, so now we will discuss the answer for this one. So I noticed a lot of you guys said B or C for this. And so the actual pattern for this one, well, actually, I want some of you guys to explain how you came up with these answers. So anyone want to raise their hand, tell me their answer and what they got really quick before we head into the actual answer? No one? That's fine. So I see how this can be a tricky problem because there's just a bunch of random circles and the different patterns, but I think the first thing that is the easiest identifier of what to pick in this puzzle, or at least narrow it down, is this specific pattern in the top right. That's what really sold me on these patterns, and also the well, let's just focus on this one for now. So if we notice that this pattern takes some shape or form same in row number 1, number 2, we can see it right here. It's just upside down, and also in row number 3. So we can probably predict that a version of this pattern will probably predict in this empty spot in row 4. So we can narrow down our choices to, we can cross out A and C, and now we're left for B and D. We narrow it down from here. So what we do here is that the actual pattern for this is that if you notice this 4th row and the 2nd row, you can actually notice that they're kind of basically rotated in a way. So if you notice, this black circle takes up spot 1. So does this one. It takes up the last spot. If you look at it backwards, it takes up the first spot. This one takes up the 2nd spot. And so does this one if you go from right to left. This one takes up the 3rd spot. And this one also. And this one, last one, takes up the 4th spot. And this one also. So that was the actual pattern that you needed to watch out for. This one was a bit tricky and hard to find, so that's why there were differing answers, but that is the pattern for this puzzle. So if we notice that this row 2 is just for row 4 but reversed, then we can see that row 3 and row 1 would probably also follow the same rule. And we can confirm that when we see this pattern, the pattern that we discussed in the beginning, takes up 1, this takes up 1, and the last one takes up 4 and takes up 4. So we can confirm this pattern not only in rows 2 and 3, 2 and 4, but also in rows 3 and 1. So with that, we now know that the pattern would have to follow some sort of resemblance like this, with the shaded in circle being intersected and the non-shaded circle being intersected this time horizontally. And so when we put these 3 pieces together, we can see that it is choice D here. So that is why this puzzle, so that is the pattern that you had to look out for in this puzzle. It is pretty complicated, so I gave you guys a lot of time to figure this one out. So, and one of you guys actually ended up answering up correctly. I don't know if you followed the same strategy, but yeah, good job. So now we'll move on to 3 practice questions, and yeah, I'll let you guys figure those out individually, and then we'll go over them as a group similar to what we're doing. And I'll just say that, again, don't overthink it. It's not that complex. If you overthink it, you're going to find patterns that, really weren't there in the first place. So just observe shapes, line patterns, and colors. That's the main three identifiers that you have to look out for. In this one, you can obviously see there's a bunch of lines. So it's just purely going to be line patterns. So I'll let you guys figure it out and see what you think it is. Also want you to explain your answers in chat. I want to see how you guys come up with your answers. I'll give that a few minutes of thinking, and then you guys can put your answers in chat when you're ready. Okay. Just wait on the others to answer. We'll give it 30 seconds, and then I'll go over the answer to this question. Most of you guys got it, so that's pretty good. Okay, let's go over the answers. So most of you guys picked E, which is the correct answer, because as we can see, let me just pull up my annotations, that with the example that they're giving us, we can see that this pattern right here is consistent within each of the shapes, right? So we want that to reoccur for this set of patterns as well. So what we want to look for is a consistent pattern. A, even though it looks enticing, would not be the right answer here, because the first pattern actually, well, it does have it, but this pattern doesn't. The second one. This second one does not have A, so it cannot be A. B is obviously not it for any of them, so we can cross that out. And C would also not be it, because there is only one box that has a horizontal vertical line, which is the first one. So C cannot be the answer. We cross that one out. Same issue with D. There's only the first box that has a horizontal line. So we can also cross that out. And therefore, the answer would be E, because if you notice, this is just a process of elimination, by the way. If you actually find the pattern, it's pretty fast. And we can see that each of these boxes has this pattern throughout, and that's why the answer to this one is E. So if you got that, then you're pretty good. So we'll move on to another puzzle. Let me just erase my annotations. This puzzle, this next one might be easier or more difficult depending on how you think. So let's see if you guys can get this one. The pattern is pretty identifiable, so you guys can get this one pretty fast. I'm confident. Let me just plug in my laptop. Oh yeah. By the way, the next section is going to be time puzzles. Those are going to be pretty easy because, well, they're not going to be pretty easy. It's just that they're a lot more consistent than these other puzzles. These other puzzles, they're all dependent on if you can see the pattern the right away, or if not, then you might overthink it. And that's the issue with these puzzles, is that they're not as consistent in their method of solving as something like time is, and that's because time is very math dependent, and math tends to be consistent. So we'll be moving on to something that's a little bit smoother in the next section. So if you didn't get as many right as these, you might do well on the time sections. I'll just wait on you guys to answer. Oh yeah, don't forget to explain how you got it. Okay, we have an answer. Okay, we have a majority already popping up. Remember to explain your answer. All right, I'll give it 30 seconds and then we'll go over the answers for this one. Yeah, good thinking, good thinking. Okay, 30 seconds is up. So let's go over what we found. So a few of you guys said the answer is D. So let's go over what you guys thought it was. So one of you guys said that the patterns was seeing as 3, 2, 1, which is pretty close, I'll admit. It's not exactly that, but it is what I thought at first, but it ended up working in the end. So let me show you what the actual pattern is. One of you also said that um, the right row that is diagonal, I'll have one line. That is also a pretty good pattern. You notice that this diagonal, I'm assuming this is what you meant, I'll have one line serrated. And therefore, this one will also have one serrated line. Pretty good pattern. We also saw the 3-2-1 pattern. Notice that this one has two serrated lines and two solid. This one has three serrated. This one has one serrated. So 3-2-1. Same thing with the next row, 3-1-2. Same thing with the next row. Well, the next row is not the same for the solid lines because this right here has 0 solid lines. So that's why the 3-2-1 is a good pattern for most of the puzzle, but it actually wouldn't work in the last row, which is my only criticism for that. So the actual pattern is that if you just count them up, you'll notice that 3-2-1 all adds up to 6. So we have 2, 3, 1 serrated line on the top. That'd be 6 here, 6, and also 2, 1, 3 on the top for sublines. So that would also be 6. So again, we can test that for the second row, see if both have 6 in each, which we find it to be true. This one has 3 serrated, 1 solid. This one has 1 solid, 1 serrated, 2 solid. This one has 2 serrated and 3 solid. So we add each of these up and they both equal 6. Now with this pattern, it's obvious that here that we have 3 here and 2 here. So it obviously have to be 1 here. Oh, someone just put in an answer. So this one will obviously have to have one serrated line, which if we can narrow it down to choices. Oh, oops. 2 choices, D and C, since they're the only one that have each one serrated line respectively. So we can cross out all the other ones. So notice most of you guys put D, but the actual right answer is C because of the pattern I just described earlier. When you notice that each row has to have 6 solid lines and 6 serrated lines, you notice here that this one actually has 0 solid lines. There's no solid lines here, it's just serrated lines straight up. So it cannot have 2 solid lines because if it was 2 here, then that would just add up to 5 solid lines in total. So you would need an extra one, which would make the correct answer as C. Pretty tricky. So that's the pattern for this one. I noticed some of you guys got C though. Pretty good. If you did, then you're pretty keen. Pat yourself on the back. So I'll just clear my annotations. And okay, we'll close off this pattern section with a, I guess, relatively easy question. Well, to me at least. So I'll see how long you guys take to figure this one out. Should be pretty easy, not too long. So again, just figure out your answer and put it in chat. I'll give this one like 2 minutes. That's pretty easy again. Also, I want to move on to the next section before we run out of time. Got some answers in. We'll just wait for the others. Again, take your time on this. Don't rush. Okay. In 30 seconds, I'll be going over the answer for this one. Okay. I'm pretty sure 30 seconds passed. So let's go over what you guys got. So a lot of you guys, some of you guys got A, some of you guys got B. I'll say that neither of those answers are correct. It's okay though. So let's go over why A and B or why. Let's just get over the pattern first. Get my wording right. So first off, we notice that only 2 parts of this line are changing. This top segment and this bottom segment. So we're going to analyze those two separately because they're changing at different rates. We can see that. So this one, it starts from flat, then it goes to a 45-degree angle, and then it goes upright. So that's okay, pretty good rate of change. But this one, on the other hand, the bottom segment is at first flat, and then it immediately goes to 90-degree angle, and then back flat the other way. So that's a whole 180 degrees that it just rotated. Meanwhile, the top one only rotated 90 degrees total. Or, yeah, 90 degrees total. So with the next stage and folding these two segments, we can predict that this top segment would only, again, rotate another 45-degree angle, while this one would actually come up and overlap onto the actual line itself, meaning the final result would look something like this. Now, what answer choices does it look like? This one right here. So that's why C is the correct answer. Unfortunately, I don't think you guys got that, but it's okay. With mistakes, we learn. So these are just the different patterns that we can see. But now we're going to move on to the time section. The time section is a lot, I'll admit, it's a lot better for me than it was for the other sections because, again, I said they're really consistent. Once you solve one, it automatically, like, immediately clicks in your head how to solve all the other ones without, like, anything. It's kind of like math word problems, but again, they're kind of like puzzles because the wording is weird. So, as with all puzzles, it's either patterns are weird or the wording is weird. So, let's go over how the time puzzles work. Oh yeah, you guys, how many of you guys took what's it called, algebra 1 so far? Raise your hand if you took algebra 1. Okay, so yeah, to you guys it'll be really easy because that's literally what all these time questions are dependent upon. So let's go over the time questions, but again, the wording is weird, so it may still be difficult. Let's go over them real fast. Let me delete my annotations. All right, let's go over the time questions. So of course we're gonna start off with the warm-up section. This one might take a lot of time, so I'll try to go quicker on this section because we're at 3:30. We only have 30 minutes left. But okay, first question, I'll give it 1 minute 30 seconds. So try to figure it out as fast as possible. Your answer in chat. Also explain the math behind it. Oh, Azim, you have your hand raised. Is that a question? Oh, okay. I think you left it up after I asked who took algebra. It's fine. Also solve it once. So strong. I'll explain it in 30 seconds. Again, this one's pretty easy, so but we'll move on to our examples. Okay, let's discuss these answers. So I noticed a few of you got the right answer, so let's go over it. Okay, so we're starting with Daniel and Terry. Well, the first sentence is a distraction, doesn't matter. So we'll just look at the start time, 1:45. Or well, technically the leaving time, but still. And arrives 12 minutes late. Okay. So we have a plus 12. So the actual time that it arrives is 1:57 should be. So we'll just note that down. Even without finishing the question, we can already see when the first train arrives. And so then we read the second sentence. If Terry's train is 20 minutes early, and it's usually scheduled to leave at this time. So again, we have another thing that we can do. So we minus 20 minutes from that, we get 2:15. And then, okay, now we have two times, two different times. Now, let's see what the question is asking us. How many minutes are there in between the times that they both leave the station? So it's a really simple problem. It's just a bit of addition and subtraction. So you guys got it pretty fast, no wonder. So we just figure out how much time there is in between this, and it's just 18 minutes. 15 minutes till 2, and then 3 minutes extra. So a total of 18 minutes. Pretty easy question, right? And the wording wasn't too hard. So we'll go on to the next warm-up question. It'll be just a bit harder because the wording is weird, but again, take your time. It's a two-part question, this time. I'll give you guys some more time for this one. I'll go over this one at in 2 minutes. I'm not sure where you guys are calling from. I'm in New York right now, as I said before. So it'd be 3:35 by the time I'll go over it. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but 2 minutes. I'll just give you that. Okay. No, one of you guys are from Canada. No, 2 of you guys are from Canada. It's pretty interesting. Got some international students. That's nice. You guys would be on like mountain time zone, right? Okay. Pretty interesting. Okay, when you guys got an answer, that's good. Pennsylvania, okay, good. Yeah, I think we have the same time. That's okay. If you can't find an answer, it's okay. I'll go over it soon. Yeah, mountain time is 2 hours apart, 2 hours behind. I think you guys are like 1:35 right now, and I'm at 3:35, a bit later in the day. Okay, let's go over the question. Enough talking about time zones. Ironically enough, we're doing a time puzzle, so let's go over with it. So let's start solving this. So this one was a bit, weirdly worded, but the basic thing that you have to look for is this part. For every minute that passes, his watch loses 10 seconds. So that means really every minute is usually 60 seconds, right? But since he's losing 10 seconds, now every minute is just 50 seconds. So with that, if 1 entire hour passes, that means 60 minutes passes, right? That means instead of 60 minutes that comprise of 60 seconds, it's going to be 50 seconds times 60 times, which would be, 3,000 seconds instead of 3,600. In an hour, there are 3,600 seconds. But since 60 minutes have passed and you're losing 10 seconds each time, you, instead of having this extra 600 seconds, you would instead have 3,000 because you've lost 10 seconds 60 times. So 10 times 60 is 600. So that's how much you would lose. So that's how much time you would lose. So since there's only 3,000 seconds, that turns out to only be 50 minutes because if we just ignore these 2 extra zeros, 30 divided by 6 is just 5. Then we get 50 minutes. So if he said it correctly at 9 a.m., then when it's 10 a.m., a whole hour has passed. That means only 50 minutes have passed on his clock, which means it would be 9:50 a.m. for part A. Again, this one's worded weirdly, but this is the general gist of it. B, he wants to watch at 7:30 p.m. Now, we can just count how many hours that is from 9 a.m. It'd be 9, then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then another half hour. 19:30 is the military time for 7:30. So that's about 10 and a half hours. So when we calculate that in seconds, we get 630 seconds. Oh wait, no, 630 minutes, sorry. 630 minutes. And then we put that into seconds and we get 3,700, 800 seconds. But for each minute, we're losing 10 seconds, right? So instead of there being 630 minutes, there would be a 525 minutes, I believe. I think so. If I'm doing my calculations right. So yeah, since we've lost that much amount of time, there would be 525 seconds, and then minutes, and then we add that to the 9 a.m. and then 525 divided by 60 is just 8 1/4 and 3/4 hours. So we add that to 9. So we get 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then 3/4. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, there we go. That would be 15. No, 17, sorry. And then 3/4. And that would be 15. No, sorry, 17. 45, which is the military time for 5 5:45 p.m. So if he wanted to watch this game at 7:30, he'd have to watch it. His watch would be showing 5:45 because each minute he's losing 10 seconds. So that would be the answer for both parts. Everyone understand? Any questions? Yeah, it is pretty confusing. Oops, let me just do some annotations. So wait, no. Okay, there we go. Now let's move on to the next question, or well, the strategy to solve these. Let me just erase my annotations and go through these fast because we're running out of time. Okay, so the strategy for this example, I actually outlined it myself to go through it fast. So if we look at this question, it's asking, well, first, we want to ignore what it's asking. Well, this is my thought process. I don't know if you guys will, what's it called? Take after it, but it's a thought process that I use. So what I usually do is first underline what's asking and ignore that for now. I want to just gather what information there is. So we can see that it's telling us 48 minutes ago, it was twice as many minutes past 9 a.m. Without context, it sounds weird. So I look at what it's asking. So we want to find out how many minutes is it before 12 noon. Okay, so we'll represent that distance, as you can see here, as a variable. As I said, those of you who took Algebra 1 will find this pretty easy and understandable because you guys know what variables are, you guys know what equations are, and how to solve them. So it'll be easier for those of you who took Algebra 1. So I thought of this the mathematical way. So we want to represent that distance as x, the minutes before 12 noon. And then we want to go back to the point that we're trying to figure out. This is the point in time that we're trying to figure out. This point in time is x minutes before 12 noon, but 48 minutes before this time, it was 2x that amount past 9. So this distance is doubled from here. Although the way I'm explaining is complicated, but add them all together is that 48 minutes ago and also the twice amount of minutes from noon would be equivalent to past 9. So past 9, you would have this amount of minutes that already passed, and also as well as this. And how many hours are there in total? There's 3 hours total. So we have these two segments, the time from 9 a.m. and the time before 12 noon. We can set up an equation. So 2x plus 48 plus x would equal 180 minutes or 3 hours. So we get this combined equation, which is 3x plus 48. Did anyone raise their hand for not taking Algebra 1? Just to explain what variables are. Everyone took it here, right? I think everyone raised their hand. So basically, we take this equation and then we solve it. We subtract 48 from both sides. 180 minus 48 is 32, I think. Yeah, 132. And then 3 times something equals 132. 3 times something equals 132. So we divide 132 by 3 and we get x. So 132 divided by 3 is, I think it's 44. Right? You guys got 44, right? If you guys have a calculator, I don't know. I think it should be 44. So yeah, that's 44. So we got x is equal to 44. And that means that it is 44 minutes before 12 noon. We can always check our work just in case we're not sure. If we put in 44 into this, then we'll see that twice that plus 48 will be that equivalent amount of time from 9 a.m. to the actual time, which would be 11:16. So that's the general method. That's the mathematical method that I like to use because it just makes most sense to me. If you guys have any other methods, I would like to hear it because that's the only way I could think of solving it myself. But that's probably the easiest method that you guys can do. And we'll move on to, we're running out of a lot of time. Okay, so we have 15 minutes, so we'll do the next 3 questions pretty fast and wrap things up. And I'll tell you guys what's going to happen tomorrow. Okay, so I'll give you time to work on this question. It's pretty similar to what we just worked on, so I'll give you guys some time to figure it out. I'll start reviewing it For those of you in Canada, I'll do it at 1:49. For those of you in Eastern Standard Time or Pennsylvania or any East Coast country, I'll do it at 3:49. It's almost time. Give you guys around 30 seconds. This is a complex question, so I apologize if I'm giving you too little time, but we're running out, so kind of squeeze everything together. Oh wow, it's 3:49 already. That's pretty quick. I'll give you guys a few more minutes. Actually, no, not a few more minutes. It's too much. I'll give you guys 30 more seconds. Running out of time. Whatever you have, whatever you think it is, just put it in chat real quick, and we'll go over it. Okay, seeing some different answers. Green chicken. I'm seeing. Okay, that's a interesting set of answers. Completely different times, but it's okay. All right, let's go over it before we run out of too much time here. So the correct answer was actually 10 p.m. So let's see. I don't think any of you guys got it, but it's okay. Let me explain. So let's start working. So it says here, watch was correct at noon. Okay, right off the bat, I know. Starting at 12 o'clock. After which, it started to lose 17 minutes per hour. Notice again, it's kind of following the theme of losing time per hour or per unit of time. Until 6 hours ago, so 6 hours more, it stopped completely. And that stop time is 2:52 p.m. So off the bat, what I want to know, as a what's it called, as a person solving this problem, is how did we get to 2:52? So we can see that we're losing 17 minutes per hour. So that means each hour, instead of being 60 minutes, it would instead be 17 minutes less, which I believe is 43. No, sorry. Oh yeah, no, it is 43. So with that in mind, we're gonna keep on adding 43 hours, I guess, like 43 hours of 43 minutes, and then we'll see where we end up. And I noticed that if I take 2:52 and convert that to minutes from 12 noon, we go from 12 to 2:52 on a line, and you would have to add 172, I think so, 172 minutes. You have to add 172 minutes to reach 2:52. So what I would do is obviously divide 172 by 43, and that turns out to be an actual integer, which is surprising. And 172 divided by 43 is 4. So with that, we can assume that what's it called? That since it took 4 times of 43-minute hours to reach 2:52, that 4 actual hours passed. So we can say that at 2:52, it was actually 4 p.m. And then the rest of the problem becomes clear because the only other part is that it says 6 hours ago, it stopped completely. So since 6 hours ago is 2:52 or 4 at the actual time, we just add 6 hours and that becomes 10 p.m. That's the answer to this one. Any questions? It's pretty complex, but that's the way to solve it. Okay, everyone's good. 3:12, 3:58. That's okay. Oh, and it happened again. Accidentally pressed the wrong annotate button. There we go. So I notice we're running out of time, so we're just gonna do one more really fast, and then I'm gonna discuss what's gonna happen tomorrow. So might drag on a little bit after 4, but it shouldn't be too bad. So let's actually just actually now it's too hard. It'll take a bit of time. So we'll go to this question. It's basically the same as the example I showed you, so it shouldn't take that long. But I'll go over it in 30 seconds because I guess just get some guesses in. I'll give you a minute actually, because this one's also hard. Get some quick guesses in. All of this all I'm asking. Okay. Oh, okay. We got 2 answers. 16. All right. I'm gonna quickly go over it because we only have a couple minutes left. So I guess put your answers in chat while I'm doing it, just to see if you can guess it right before I solve it. So let's start. It's similar to the other one. I'm gonna draw a similar diagram. So we're looking at 22 o'clock which is the military time for 10. And we're looking at midnight, which is just 12. So we can just put that. And so it's a similar format to the other problem. So we're looking for how many minutes is it before midnight? If 13 minutes ago was 3 times, it's 3 minutes past 10 o'clock. So we'll set a random marker there to mark the time that we are at. Oops. Drawing is hard. So that's the time we're at. We want to figure out this interval. We want to figure out how many minutes is it. So we'll look at that. I'll label that as X. And we know that 3 times as many minutes past 10 and as well as 32 minutes. So we have 3 times more this time plus 32 minutes. So we'll set up that equation. And this time it's only 2 hours total because we're going from 10 o'clock to midnight. So that would be 3x plus 3x plus 32 plus x, which would be 4x plus 32. That would be equal to the amount of minutes in 2 hours, which is 120. And we minus this 32 from both sides. We get, should be 88. Is it? Yeah, it is 88. Okay. Yeah. And I'm pretty bad at arithmetic. So 88. Let's put that in. There we go. So with this, we see that 4 times something is 88. I don't know why I wrote. So 4 times something is 88. We divide by 4. And 88 divided by 4 is 22. So the answer is that this x is equal to 22 minutes before 12 or 11:38, I think. Yeah, should be 11:38 p.m. Or if you want to do that military time, that'd be 23:38, but that doesn't matter. Okay, so with 1 minute left, let me discuss what's happening tomorrow. So what's going to happen tomorrow is that we're actually going to do a little event, and we're going to have you guys compete a little bit for these puzzle solving. So we're going to have you guys compete tomorrow, and that's why I taught you how to do these 3 basic types of puzzle, because I'm going to compile a bunch of questions and see how you guys do in a little competition that I organize for you tomorrow. If there's enough of you there, I'll organize you into 2 teams. Notice there was 4 people today, but one of them left, so I don't know if he'll be here tomorrow, but if he's here tomorrow, then I can organize you guys into 2 separate teams, and we can do our little competition, and you guys can possibly get a reward. And yeah, that will be what will happen tomorrow, just to make this a little bit more fun. So yeah, and that's all for today. And that's the day 1 workshop. I didn't get to go over the last question because it's really hard and we don't have enough time for that. But I'll actually give you that question for homework then, because I already made a Google form that has 5 questions on it for homework. And I guess I'll be giving you guys this question right here. So I'll be adding that to the Google form and you guys can fill that out. I don't know if you guys were given a link to that, but just in case you weren't, I will go ahead and get it myself. That's not the right one. Let's delete that. It's this one. Okay. I will let you guys fill out this form, send it to everyone. Okay. So I'll be inserting that last time question for the homework, and you guys can solve it. And I'll see what you guys come up with tomorrow. I'll also review the questions, and we'll have our little competition, and we'll see who wins. I'm hoping we can have a perfect record winner, I'm guessing. So let's see what will happen tomorrow. All right. Otherwise, that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed our first day of the Puzzalathon, and I hope you guys are excited for tomorrow. So do the Google form and get back to us tomorrow, same time. Thank you for coming today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Every teen is unique, right? You have your own wonderful idea to change the world, and we're just here to support that.